So today we are going to talk about from self-taught programmer to job. The reason why we are talking about that is because freeCodeCamp is actually the platform where people start learning to code, but also to get a job in a completely new industry, completely different industry that they are used to be or used to work. And we were asked many times to talk about our experience, and we both came practically from nothing to a programmer job, and that's why we are talking about it today. We will have a question and answer session afterwards, so feel free to ask everything you'd like. Yes, just a short roadmap, what we're gonna cover. We will talk about our life before. We will talk about the learning process. We will talk about applying for jobs. We will talk about working at the new company. Then explain the main qualities and actions to get a job actually. And the last thing will be about motivation, because people always ask, how do you stay motivated on the way? Let's start with our life before programming. How many of you guys actually started to program from a completely different field? Cool, so like 50%, something, roughly. Very nice. So you guys know what it takes to like start with a completely new set of rules and mindset. In my case, it was like, I'm a student, I'm a business law student. I have worked in different business law firms, tax advisory firm, had different workshops, and also had like entrepreneurial stuff. But most of the time I was also like non-profit worker. So most of the time I was just a student working, just working and studying my whole life. So not really much programming. I had no idea what HTML was, nothing. Yes, so that's about me.
Yeah, and with his background in business and such, I had a different background. I grew up on a wet, cold mountain in Bergen. I was raised by sheep farmers. It was quite miserable at times, but no, that's not the real story. But maybe I should control the... Yeah. But I did grow up in or by wet mountains in Bergen. It's one of the rainiest cities in northern Europe. It has about 250 days of rain a year, so it gets quite miserable, but strangely enough, we cope. And I didn't get raised by sheep farmers, but we have national costumes in Norway that are mainly made of wool, and just pay special attention to the fact that these socks are purely made out of sheep's wool, handcrafted and such. So they're always a pain to put on for these occasions. They go up until like here. So that's nice. My background back to childhood, I was always the computer guy in class. I always liked, from the first chance I had with a dad working in tech, to bash at the keyboard at H5 or something from a Commodore or Macintosh or something. I always early on found out I had a love for computers. I didn't take it further until then learning HTML, making some websites. I had two parents, my father and my mother. They got divorced. Whenever I was at my dad, and I used to live mainly at my mom's place, he had internet, so I could get tutorials on how to learn HTML, print them out, go back to my regular home on a computer with no internet, learn how to make stuff with HTML. It was really cool. But then a couple of years later, I got a book, Java in 21 Days, and I was like, yes. But I was the kind of person who, since I didn't understand why it said system out println, I must be a stupid guy, because there can only be math geniuses that understands this esoteric type we're writing out and why it makes some stuff happen. And there was no one there for me to tell me that, take a step back, you're not stupid. This is the same for everyone in the beginning. And it was the same for me also in school. Learning maths, it was easy for me, or all courses in school was easy for me up until the stage where we had sort of like equations, algebra and stuff. And I thought that, hey, up until that point, I just had to be in class, pay attention, barely do homework, I did fine. But then, once I had to memorize rules and just apply them, I didn't understand that that was what you were going to do. I thought I had to really understand what was going on, because that's how it had worked for me up until that point. So all this just to say that I really had enforced the myth that programming is for math geniuses only. So I kind of ruled it out from that point on. And then skipping ahead a little bit to young adult life, instead of going into computer school, which I maybe, let's just call it that, which I maybe would have done if I would have not have this misconception, I instead said, hey, let's try psychology studies. Didn't work out. Let's try to study philosophy. Didn't work out. Then I kind of prioritized student life and working instead of studying. And at one point I panicked, realized I couldn't really get a job as a philosopher. So I went to Ireland, and I'm from Norway, but I went to Ireland to work for multinational companies. And eventually, all this led to me having a bit of a burnout. I worked in sales, tech support, public transport support, and so on. I didn't really work jobs I liked. I just went there to earn money. And I became a sad panda. And I mean it literally, because I became a sad panda. Life in Ireland, just working, drinking, eating whatever I wanted, was not good for me.
Cool, yeah. Now let's go to the learning process. When you start to learn to code, it's like this picture here. My code isn't working and I don't know why. And if the code is working, I also don't know why. So this was always like, when I was working on something, it was always like this. And I guess it's for most of you like that when you started out learning to code. For me, I captured my whole learning experience like in these 3 pictures here. On the first, you see like GitHub contributions. On the second, you see like cheesecake and coffee, because that's like super important when you program a lot. And down here, that's actually 1 hour before the gym. It's actually in the gym. But what I wanted to tell with that picture is that you have to, you have to fit in or use every time you get. When you are busy, when you have family, studying, working, you don't have time for learning to code your whole day. So when you have time, like an hour before the gym or whatever, or when you're traveling on the bus, on the train, use the time for coding. And as you can see here, I was like, that's only GitHub. I was like coding every day. Like there's the challenge, like 100 days of code, forming a habit so it gets into your body. And that's actually the result. And that's without the freeCodeCamp curriculum, which also looked like that. So many hours, many contributions, and a lot of coffee and studying, and yeah, just learning to code. There's also, like from the article, as I said before, this tool is like Waka Time. It's like a plugin for the editor. It's for free, so you can check how much time you actually spend on projects on GitHub. And here, what I've tracked, like from from mid-April to mid-July or end July, like 250 hours I spent just coding. So that boils down to like on an average of 2 hours per day. So just to give you a perspective how much it can take to learn to program and to not be frustrated along the way, just put in the hours. And what you can see here also is like I created on CodePen actually a small application, a homepage that actually counts the day I was time spent in coding, and till this day it's like 380 days. So that's pretty cool. And what I also wanted to tell you with that is like to do your own projects. Always don't try to follow the curriculum or whatever tutorial. Try to make your own stuff happen and you will learn much quicker and better in general. So to have it in a nutshell, I put in many hours, did a lot of research, not only tutorials or videos or books or whatever. Try everything out, see what works for you best, and then go with it. In my case, it was just many contributions and own projects. And always trust yourself, but I'm going into that later on.
Yeah. So going back to my misconception that you had to be a math genius to learn to program. To get out of this burnout and to get a better life, I gradually tried to do that. One project was me and a partner in Norway. We started a company to provide websites for businesses based on WordPress. We never really took off. We never scaled super high, mainly because we didn't have enough sales. But we had a few customers, and at the point, I was thinking, I was part of the technical part, and my partner was part of the sales. And I was thinking, we're doing this stuff, and we're just barely making any margin on offering shared hosting for our customers. What if we could host ourselves? And I'd already been interested in Linux for a while, but you know how it can be with Linux. You try, and you try, and you fail, and you try, and you fail, and you try. And then eventually, maybe you make a switch to Linux, which I have, but it took a long while. So in that process, I knew it was possible to host yourself, so I decided, hey, let's try this. I tried some tutorials, and I finally had a breakthrough when I stumbled across Linux Academy, and I took a part. That was the first time I was using an online course to learn to train myself or to teach myself something. And I managed to, from knowing nothing about hosting servers, just shared hosting, to be able to set up a LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP, and offer hosting for our customers professionally. So that was a big aha for me. But I was still thinking, you have to be a math genius to learn programming. Figure that. So this picture was to illustrate when I realized that, hey, I can learn stuff online, then I thought, let's try programming. But it must be hard, so let's try again. I tried Treehouse first just to brush up HTML and CSS. Kind of tasted a little bit on JavaScript. I thought, hey, okay, it's cool to learn about functions and variables and control statements and stuff, but you know, when does the real programming start? So I kind of took a step back. And it wasn't until I stumbled across freeCodeCamp about 2 years ago now that I realized that all the stuff that I thought was just the basics in programming is programming. And then you just have to iterate over the same things, use them in different ways, go a little bit more advanced into the language and design and other topics that are more like on the architectural or just get it in your fingers and be experienced and know what is the best choice for the job and so forth. But the basics stay the same. And when I realized that, just imagine after about 30 years, or you know, I'm 33 now, but I was probably around 30 then. But after many years from a kid thinking that programming was not for me, to finally bursting the bubble and thinking, I can do this. I was really motivated because I really wanted to do this. And I saw it as a way out of my misery. So then I stuck with freeCodeCamp. As Dalia said, it can be challenging and you have to put in a lot of hours. I put in a lot of work at first, as many people do, and then I fell out a little bit. I wrote about it at my blog, helloilovecode.com, and one of the things that helped me was to take a step back from freeCodeCamp, read a book that is actually in the, I saw it, it's here. Eloquent JavaScript helped me personally to get a fresh look at JavaScript, not from freeCodeCamp, but from another source. I supplemented with other courses. I like Udemy because they have a lot of courses that you can buy on demand and keep for life. And then I got back into the groove of freeCodeCamp. Yeah, so the book here is not an icon for something YouTube started doing. That's just because I also used books. Yeah. And freeCodeCamp, when we're talking about motivation a little bit later, it has been a constant part in this whole journey. Just knowing that I was starting to organize the local group here for the freeCodeCamp meant that I felt obligated to make sure I could tell the other people at the meetup that I had progress since the last time. So just the social aspect was really helpful as well.
Yeah, so after learning a lot, the next step is actually applying for a job. And I think that's pretty interesting for us because our stories are pretty different actually. For me, just two pictures here, one day from the interview, from the day of the interview, and another picture is also from the meetup here. The reason why I'm putting up those pictures here, just to give you an impression how I looked when I was applying for the job. But to summarize it, I don't want it to be an employee actually. I started to code to become a freelancer, and I was only focused on projects and meetups. I wanted to get to know people and I wanted to build own projects. And I tried to contribute as much as possible to anything code related. And literally, when I when I did realize there are meetups here in Vienna. It was my first meetup. It was actually the web clerks meetup here. And I was going to everyone and like, hi, I'm Daniel. I'm a programmer beginner. I don't know a lot, but I know a little thing. Yeah, do you have an open source project? And if yes, can I contribute? And I was like going to everyone, like, hi, I'm Daniel. Can I contribute? And then, like, you know, everybody. And then I met one guy, actually Benny, and he said, of course, yeah, I have an open source project. We can like work on it together. And then we met for weeks and months. And like after, I don't know, 4 to 5 months, he was like, yeah, my company is looking for a developer. We have like a job offer. Do you want to work with me? I was like, yeah, of course. And that's actually it, how I got the job. Of course, there was like an interview and he was asking questions. He was like, yeah, show me your project. Tell me a little bit about you. Tell me a little bit about your stack. Why do you want to do it that way, etc. But nothing really hard, no hard questions. And what I want to tell you here is, for me, the absolute key here was to build a relationship, to network, and get into a job over a guy I already knew. That's like super powerful because he can refer me, and also like from the employer side, he sees like, okay, he has already worked with one of my employees, so he has to have something good, and the employer already trusts the other employee. So that was like a big plus, and that's actually, for me, it was actually pretty easy. So on your side?
I went to do a little bit different route, back to my work, having a company in Norway, selling websites to companies. I did that, and I also supplemented with some freelance work, mainly very simple WordPress-based tasks, a lot of repetitive stuff. Didn't like it all so much, but that was in the phase that I was starting to learn to code. So as I learned to code, I could do more code-related stuff. One of the criteria for me is looking for a job. I was in this freelance state, but I wanted something full-time because the freelance was sporadic or not stable enough income for me. But I wanted to look for a full-time job, and it had to be English-speaking because my German is not so good. If they would allow German, they would have to be really kind people. And then I focused on continuing to organize the meetup that I had started here. And I also organized, now it must be last year maybe, Node School in the summer. I contacted Node.js meetup and said, hey, can we do something? So I helped do that. I also helped HackerX, which is speed dating for developers, have their first 2 events in Vienna. So I was ambassador for them. And I'm also the ambassador for Angel Hack, even though they haven't had something here yet. I hope they will come soon. So all these things I could put on my resume, and I was active and I was in the community, and I liked to engage, and it was also something I could benefit from when searching for jobs. I didn't feel when I started to send applications around April that I had enough portfolio stuff, and I really didn't. I just had a couple of things from freeCodeCamp, and I had something, you know, when you're forking stuff on GitHub and you're just putting down some lines in a new idea thing and stuff, so that it looked like it was busy, but it wasn't really much on GitHub either. But I said, hey, let's just try to apply, because I have to apply and get a job. Let's see how this goes. I just had the approach that I would just send as many applications as I could. Not super many, but definitely over 50 applications in the span of April to August. 50, yeah, 50. But it doesn't have to be hard. Like, you can go on sites. I also included remote work, so I can go on sites like weworkremotely.com and others for remote work. Find you know, the ones that are looking, go to their site, you know, copy paste into the form, have a little bit of a application letter if you want to be personal and so on. So it doesn't have to take so much time. So I just tried to make it as streamlined as possible, and of course apply if I really liked the job ad. I also had a rule of if I was in doubt, either if I liked the job or not, or if the job said mid to senior, and I was like, or they had this list of requirements and I had like maybe 10%, I'd be like, okay, you know what, you can think as much as you want, but if you don't apply, you'll never know. So I just made the rule, I'll apply if I'm in doubt. So a lot of applications. I had 2 rounds, one round with a plain application, black and white, like I learned in school. You should list your experience, you list your school experience, and chronologically everything, boring, plain, straightforward. Didn't work so well. So I said, okay, let me rephrase things a little bit, present myself as an already developer and not downsell myself. So I changed some wording and presented myself better, and I got a professionally looking template with a picture and some colors and stuff and really nice layout design. And that really helps, because after just the first few applications, I got feedback. It ended up that I got the job. That was the first interview I went to, but it took them probably 2 months or something to offer me the job. So in the meantime, I had, I think, 4 other interviews. And the interview also, as Daniel said, for me, it wasn't so technical. It was more that they saw that I had the ability to learn, that I could talk about the choices I'd made in terms of the frameworks and technologies I was using for my projects when I was learning, that I was not just following along, but was reflected about it, and that I really had found the passion of coding that I didn't know I could do until recently. So I think that, did shine through. Yeah.
Yeah, a short take on working at the new company. I want to keep that very short. Because at first it is like, it's too much. This is too much. This is literally how you look in the new company. Because it's like, of course you will be overwhelmed. Because there are like people more experienced in a field you have never worked in, of course. What we want to talk about here is like, okay, the company is different. Every company is different. So there is no one rule fits all solution here. What's also like important is to keep always the learning attitude, because people are like way smarter than you probably or hopefully, and you will have like failures and you might not know a lot, but with having a learning attitude, everything will work out perfectly.
Yeah. And you can also lean on the stuff that you learned while learning to code, which most or hopefully all programmers do in their job, which is Googling. And if you don't know the answer, you Google and you try to figure it out. You open 10 tabs, you go through them, you find the best answer, you see if you learn something. Hopefully you don't copy-paste everything from Stack Overflow. But that is something that is good that you already have a habit of. Definitely I was also overwhelmed. I had the imposter syndrome. I was like, I'm not good enough for this. They're going to fire me after a month. Oh, okay, I'm here. I'm still here in a month. They're going to fire me next month. No, I'm still here. It's been a year now. I'm still there, so I must be doing something right. Yeah. I think that's mainly it about our experiences. We're open for questions afterwards in terms of working at the new company. But it has definitely been a challenging ride, but joyful and learning experience, and yeah.
So now the takeaways. I think this is the most important part of our presentation, and it's also like the last part. So feel free to pay attention to these points, because it's like what we decided is the most important thing when you start applying for a job or getting in a new industry. And for us it was like three points actually. It was like skills, ability to learn, and passion.
Yeah, this is, as you said, condensing down what we found to be the most important things. Obviously you have to have some programming skills. You have to know the job that you are applying for. If you can demonstrate that you have the ability to learn, which is easier when you can back it up with the freeCodeCamp process or progress or something like that. That's really helpful. Every employer is different. Some companies, they don't really care so much about the ability to learn or the passion. They want someone with years of experience, dependable, etc. For every company, it's different. But in our experience, we found that the companies that do accommodate and do focus on these 3 things are the ones that you're most likely to get a job at. And passion as well is something I just want to touch on, because I know that a lot of developers or people wanting to get into programming doesn't necessarily do it because they love to do it. It's perfectly fine if you have the idea that you want to change your career either for economic reasons or because you want to do something different, and you've seen that programming could be a lucrative field, or you could have some freedom, etc. So you don't have to have the passion, is what I'm going to get at. But we found that it helps. And if you can communicate somehow some aspects of programming, development, etc., or the culture, or whatever, that you like, and you can get it across in an interview, it helps.
Yeah. So basically, you have to find a balance between your skills and your ability to learn and your passion. So it has to be in balance, or you have to provide something at least to convince the future employer. So what are the concrete actions that you can take to get a job? And we concluded that the most important things here are portfolio, networking and promoting yourself, and actually showing up. Maybe it might be the hardest thing actually to do. You want to take on?
Yeah, building a portfolio on GitHub contributions. I had a phone interview with a company, and it sounded like he had a little bit more expectations than what I had tried to give across in my resume. So I was kind of like saying, downplaying it a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I did. And he was commenting, oh yeah, but you have so much stuff on your GitHub profile. I was like, yeah. And I was thinking afterwards, wow, the power of just having something on your GitHub profile. I'm not saying you should just put something that's crap and just hope that it helps. But if you have something on GitHub that is your earnest effort to learn, and you're active and you're contributing and you're trying to change something in the README of a big open source project, that's also fine. If you can get a taste for the field, all that helps. From reading articles or hearing experiences from others, most hiring managers will not read your code. They might skim a little bit and then they skip the rest, because not everyone loves reading other people's code all day long. As for the networking and promoting yourself, that also is a point that is also supposed to cover the aspect of sending out your resumes. So you don't have to network, you don't have to go out there and say, hey. If you're not the person that don't feel comfortable doing that, that's fine. But then you make sure you send out resumes and applications. The job of the application, I found, is to get yourself an interview. So again, just if in doubt, just send out applications, and the job of sending those applications is so you get invited to an interview. So keep that in mind. And in the interview, it's the job of the prospective employer to decide whether or not you're a fit for the company.
If I had to break it down to one single important feature, it's like the portfolio. Because I've been asked about, show me something, not just from the employer or future employer, just friends, whoever. Everybody just wants to see something, and you should at least be able to show them something. And as Robert said before, I totally agree on that. Like just showing that you did something at GitHub is incredibly powerful. It looks amazing, and nobody really dives into the code and says, "Oh, that's not good." So. Yeah, that's it. That's it from my side on the concrete actions. The last point here, motivation, because we've been asked many times how to stay motivated, and we summarize it in 3 points here. Ask yourself why, develop a habit, and trust yourself. Do you want to start?
For me, the why was obvious. I realized I had a passion for code, and I didn't think I would ever be able to program, so that was kind of just I got for free. The habit was using freeCodeCamp with the points and the structure. It's really nice to know that you have a progression towards something, certificate or portfolio projects, etc. And it also helped, as I mentioned earlier, to come to especially the freeCodeCamp meetup. So I was, had the social incentive to say, hey, okay, pushing myself a little bit further because I wanted to finish the calculator, for example, until the next meetup, because if I talked about it at the previous meetup that I was working on it, I should maybe have it finished by the next time I see the same people. It's easy to doubt yourself, but you kind of just have to push through it regardless. For me, with not feeling I had enough portfolio projects to apply, I just applied anyways. So you kind of have to push yourself a little bit to continue on.
I think it's incredibly important to ask yourself why, and always remind yourself why you are on that path. Always, because you will have failures, you will have setbacks, And then it's important to remind yourself why you're actually on that path. And just look at the scene here right now. We have like Friday evening. You could be at the bar drinking with friends. We all have like other things to do. But you're here. Everybody is here actually learning or connecting or networking. So you're already here and you know why you're here. And that's also like with the trust yourself part here. It can be incredibly difficult to start a new journey in a new industry. People are doubting you, you keep having rejection and failures. As he said before, like 50 times, applying 50 times. In previous jobs, I was also like applying 40, 50 times. That's normal, but it's like, or maybe it isn't normal, I don't know, but it's incredibly hard. It's like rejection. People don't even read your application, and that can be really hard. So don't be frustrated or don't give up on that, because I know some people here are applying always and they're getting rejected, and that's just part of the equation. That's just a part. Don't be frustrated if that happens. And yeah, like the guy here with the startup, he's also here. He's here, he's motivated. He has passion for his startup. So that's my point on motivation. Trust yourself. And not only the progress or the process is incredibly hard, but also like people or family. Like people always telling you, stay on your path, stay on your, like for me, my family expected me to be a lawyer. And my grandmother was like, oh, nice, a lawyer. And now I'm telling her like, I'm programming. And she's like, what is programming? Is it like Game Boy playing or what is that? She doesn't really see that there's difficult and that's opportunities here. So that's also like incredible, or it can be incredibly tough. So yeah, just look out for that and yeah, stay motivated on the way. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think you said it beautifully.
Yeah, motivation is key. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask about motivation. Yeah.
We want to make sure that we have on record a big thanks to freeCodeCamp, both the local group here, which consists of everyone here that keep coming, and also the new faces that maybe also want to keep coming, and to Quincy Larson's work at starting freeCodeCamp.org a couple of years ago, and how helpful it has been for us. It's definitely not sure we would have had the same path to getting a job if we didn't have freeCodeCamp.
Absolutely, totally agree on that. Very good platform. Yes. So for to that, this if you wanna, so almost thanks for us. We have our contact details, and we also have half of an announcement in the next slide. But you can contact Daniel at Twitter, GitHub, and his website, other places as well. Same goes for me. And as for the announcement, we are so inspired by our journey to becoming full-time developers that we started a Verein, an organization, to help others do the same. It's really in the starting phases. If you go to Developers Rising, I just put it up on a server today, and it just says Developers Rising. There's nothing there. And we have a Gmail address, but it will be changed eventually. But for now, keep us in mind. We'll also link it, since we are organizing freeCodeCamp, this local group, we'll keep mentioning it if people are interested. The purpose is to support programmers in general and provide a platform of exchange. It's actually what we have been doing for the last months and years, even years, but with a legal framework. So, and we are not tied to the freeCodeCamp brand, so we can do much more. Yeah. And we also want to explore more, so you can expect many nice things to happen. And
we also want to try out ways to help others go from learning to code to get a job. So we have some ideas, and we'll play around with some stuff. And if people want to get involved, it's an organization. You can become a member,
Yeah. Also, if you want to contribute, and as you've seen before, when we're talking about getting a job, it's like contributing can be very valuable. If you want to help out or something or contribute, feel free to just get in touch, and we will find something.
Yes.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank you.